but I'm sure everyone is so excited. Kentucky won, as I'm told, and so go Cats. And again, thank you so much for your work, for your dedication. Anyone who has seen this process has to be extremely, extremely impressed that this community has such a wealth of individuals willing to give of their time. The study that you had to put forth on this, the number of hours, and just your overall dedication is just to be commended. So thank you on behalf of the 40,000 plus students, the Fayette County Board, the entire community. Thank you so much for the effort that you're making to ensure that our school district is strong going forward and that we have a really good rezoning plan that will hopefully take us into you know, a long time from now. So again, thank you and welcome, and enjoy this lovely weekend. Remember, this time last week, we were all being told to stay off the road. Tonight, we've got shorts and short sleeves and sandals and everything else. So we're blessed. And we're certainly blessed that Alan is here.
Thank you, Dr. Mel. I want to thank also everyone for being here. It's kind of a tough time and afternoon, but we've got still plenty to do as I envision our work ahead of us. We still have most of our commentaries to address for our elementary schools. We need to do that. We'll need a couple of sessions after that to discuss feeder patterns once we have the entire maps drawn. Certainly we want to visit any particular specific issues, and which would include finishing our conversation on recommendations for grandfathering and whatever might else come up. I'm not sure I was going to make it here tonight, and I want to publicly thank Aaron for stepping up to lead our session if necessary. And I also want to point out that we've had some conversation under her leadership, frankly, as to how we can speed this process. So we're going to make a general statement here that is, as we go through our checklist, we're going to try to pay a little bit of attention to the clock. Just mathematically, we've got so many issues still with which to deal that if we spend 30 and 40 minutes in each conversation, we're going to be here until September, and I don't think that's in anybody's best interest. So what we're going to do, and I think Coach Riley, you said you'd be happy to help. We talked about whether we would codify this and institutionalize having a time clock. We decided that is probably not the right thing to do. However, I'm going to ask Coach Riley to kind of pay attention informally to the clock, and when we get close to 8 or 10 minutes discussing each and or any of these specific areas, neighborhoods, schools, etc., I'd like him to point it out to us so we can begin to wind down those conversations. And if necessary, we'll vote, as we have on a couple of occasions before, to make some tough decisions. But the caveat to that is I invite any committee member, when we get towards that winding down, to raise your hand and simply say, Alan, I think we need more time on this, and of course we'll do it. So that's where we are. We began our elementary school conversations last week. We have checked off Somerville, Palomar, Rabbit Run is next on the list, but as we read through that, those are all positive comments. Am I right on that, Lisa?
I'm sorry. Do you have the new
Let's
list?
just see it if you're thankful. On the Rabbit Run, what we're seeing is that they're all.
I didn't hear.
It's separate.
Okay.
Yeah,
Where is
it goes with it.
It's separate.
All right.
Same thing, I just have to take it and find it.
So it's in our packet somewhere that I've just overlooked it. Well, I'll be good. That makes my life a little easier. I like it. Okay. So,
You see this? It's not in with it. Right. Cool.
Don't forget the minute because it's right here.
did everybody receive your minutes? Okay. Have you had time to review them? Anybody got any comments or corrections there too?
Because you have this? Yeah. I think that one there. That's your sheet. We got it on. Okay.
Okay, any additions or corrections? Seeing none, is there a motion to accept the minutes, please? Bill Farmer, second. Mike Travis. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, like sign, thank you. Okay, well, we do have a more organized, this is really good, except that it's alphabetically derived. And so we need to remind ourselves exactly what work we completed last time, so we can check it off. We did check off what we did Summerfield. Summerfield for sure.
And Elmer was
What about schools? My understanding is that there was a discussion, I wasn't here, of course, I apologize. There was a discussion of Rosa Parks was left, and I'd like to revisit the reasons that we left that school way overcrowded. If I could ask.
You're a committee member, you can ask for it. Anybody want to respond to that? David, your best explanation on that, I think, has to do with some of the kids that are in some private schools, but not.
Based on the current trends, if they were to continue after redistricting over capacity, not down to just a handful, that's basically over capacity. When there was a time of 77 too, it would be based on current trends. Their current net increase in Alabama is 77.
Yeah, I mean, have we done this for the other neighborhoods? Look, private school kids who actually goes there?
I don't think we made it past Rosa Parks.
We needed you.
Well, this is perhaps the only neighborhood where I have people that live there that are redistricted there that think it's not fair that they're telling me they were promised that they would not be redistricted.
Well,
And you know, then I don't know.
Let me respond to that. Early on in this process, a couple of us were approached and said there was a double secret private memorandum that was signed between the school board and a certain neighborhood that promised they would never be redistricted. That document was never produced, first and foremost. And secondly, it would not be binding anyway.
Fine with me.
Hell no. And so I think it's probably fair to say that whomever made a promise of such a nature was probably speaking out of turn, without authority or portfolio. But I think it's been the position of this committee, Ron, that we would not honor such a promise anyway.
Sure.
Okay.
I thought I saw in here somewhere that projected Rosa Parks numbers are up over 800. And the school capacity is 650, and the principal says we can handle 700. So why are we not moving some of those kids to other schools?
I just answered that to the best of my ability. We did do some redistricting in the rural areas, and that moved
12 kids.
That moved about 12 kids. Then based on current trends that we see today, there's expected to be roughly a net increase of minus 77 kids who will go out of area. That gets it down to, as I recall, it was like 4 kids over capacity. As far as whether or not we're applying that to other schools, we haven't gotten to any yet.
Hey, Bob. This is a point of information. How many of those out-of-area transfers of the 77 approximately are moved because of overcapacity issues at Rosa Parks?
I don't know, but I would guess approximately 15, somewhere around there. More are moved, but they often get back. So there's about 15 kids right now who like to be in Rosa Parks, live in Rosa Parks, but are not going there because it's too crowded. And this sheet came up in David's discussion last week, and you've all seen it before, but I just made another copy in case it becomes important. And this sheet is where it said on the far right-hand side, Rosa Parks has a net loss of about 77 kids going somewhere else to some other school, whether it's through out-of-area, magnet, or whatever program. Most of this sheet, of course, deals with free and reduced costs.
So, Bob,
Yes.
these numbers that we're looking at are the potential students that go there, not the ones that actually go there. Is that right? And
Right.
In these study areas,
Everything Scott gives us is a resident.
okay, but not all of them go to school.
Right. Sometimes more kids go to that school, especially at Dixie, and often a few less kids go to the school than the number of Freedom Districts, or the number of Scott kids. And this table tells you, at least currently, how many either leave, a net loss, or a net increase.
Okay, so a net loss is, like on Rosa Park, 77.
Yes.
That's 77 out of potential that don't go there.
Currently, yes. And just for another example, we talked about Gates a lot. Last week, Gates loses 43, and Liberty loses 43. We talked about those a lot last week.
There was also a readjustment on the building capacity of 50 units.
I'm looking what, we can't fix everything. We've said that, made that point over and over. We can't fix poverty by busing kids over town. But I'm looking at Garden Springs, and we've got this pocket way out here, got that split. And we have Rosa Parks that Garden Springs has capacity. Rosa Parks is by far our least diverse school. And so I'm just wondering if there's something we can do there by moving some of these kids from Rosa Parks to Garden Springs that will balance capacity somewhat and may improve balance, the SES balance.
I mean, I think we spent a lot of time on that last year. I know you weren't here, Rod, but some of our goals coming in was not to go back and relitigate things we had just gone over. So we spent a lot of time on that.
We did spend an awful lot of time on making that value judgment.
Okay. Don't hear anybody else speaking up.
Okay, folks, let's continue to move forward. We've got a new list now, so we can do this alphabetically now. The doing that. All right, let's go ahead then. The next discussion is for Ashland. Ashland Elementary. Comments about the Ashland Park area. You want to start off? Okay. I can promise you that's pretty slow on the priority list. Karen?
It looks like we just have the one comment on action. Do we want to make moves based on one?
And what is the comment asking us to look at? There is only...
They're ultimately just asking for early enrollment, it looks like to me.
Well, there were some study areas I was going to recommend that we move to Ashland. Just I'm trying to look at my notes and make sure, but I think it's crowding for the capacity of the school we're moving
From where?
It's study area 171.
Okay. Scott, good morning. Good afternoon. Are you there?
Here.
Okay. Sorry. I just assumed you were.
We've been doing it.
Yeah, okay. And James, the study area again, please.
It was 171, 180, and 185. And I think they're coming out of William Wells Brown. And I think that was to lower the capacity of William Wells Brown. And the thought behind that is that we want to make in our recommendation to have smaller class sizes. That would be hard for them to do if they were closer to being at 100% capacity.
Are you suggesting those three areas go to Ashland?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can we take a look at that, folks?
Just as a reminder, though, remember, just reducing the number of kids in the building does not reduce class size. Automatic, right.
It
That
can.
turns staffing formula.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, I think we understood that, but I think if we put in the recommendation to have smaller class sizes, that wouldn't be possible at the school at capacity.
And
Well, yeah, because you could have teachers, but
let's remind the committee, I don't know if you all heard that about 2 weeks ago the board approved smaller staffing ratios for low-income schools, particularly grades K through 3 would be at 22 to 1 instead of 24 to 1.
If you're at 70% or more.
So William Wells Brown.
And that's good, but it may not be particularly germane as a corollary here. That's a different issue. I mean, it's good to know that, but in terms of the redistricting.
Well, if the school has capacity, if the school were 85 or 90% capacity, it wouldn't be an issue. But if the school is close to 100%, and we calculated the capacity at 25 students per classroom, William Wells Brown, for example, would not have the chance to lower their class size down to 22. They'd have too many kids.
So then do we need to have a different target for those, whatever the
70% or higher.
70%?
I would think at least if we know they're near 100%, we should be cautious.
Because they're near 100%.
Classrooms is the issue.
They can't have classrooms.
Right, they can't add classrooms. Right. So, yeah, if they're near 100%, they don't have any flexibility.
I love William Wells
And
Brown.
our ideal would be to give them flexibility so they just have those smaller.
Sorry about that.
Right. Well, let's take a look at James' suggestion here. Are those all William Wells Brown? And we're proposing to see what it looks like if we move them to Ashland, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, with these three moving to Ashland, currently William Wells Brown is at 97% and Ashland is also at 97%. With these three study areas, there are 81 students, so that would bring Ashland up to 123% and William Wells Brown to 76% if we did this move.
Yeah, both of those, I'm just personal, that both of those get outside of the realm of where we want to be.
Yeah.
And I mean, I
Does it make sense? Are we breaking up neighborhoods? And I suspect we are, and walkability, if we took, only one or two of those study areas and tried to adjust, or are we, as Ron says, doing more harm to the neighborhood?
Did you have a corresponding move for Ashland?
that's what I was looking through my notes to see, because a lot, and that's what I was going to say. I asked the committee to be patient with me with some of these suggestions.
No, that's fine.
It was like a total plan move. Capacity was made at certain schools, and some of the moves that we've made previously made doesn't allow for some of these changes. But I guess with the comment about walkability and that sort of thing, I think with situations like with schools like William Wells Brown, I think that's where we just have to make the decision as a committee on, if that guiding principle is as important as changing the whole makeup of the school to improve the school. So, but I agree, those numbers are too.
Is there some sort of a hybrid that we could at least take a look at, or are we, breaking up a neighborhood?
And Scott, I mean, if you can, you kind of got the all CNI. Is there any moves we could possibly make at Ashland?
Alternative, let's say, for example, 185 to Ashland and leaving 180 and 171.
Or what if you did, 215 and 216 to Ashland, and then, 185 into Harrison, something like that? Would that work?
Well, that's not going to help us on our free and reduced numbers at either Harrison or William Wells Brown, I don't think. And we're in a pretty good range already.
Okay, I can. Like the number, like 281, 282, 305, 306, 304, those could easily go to Harrison. And there aren't many students there.
I had 281, 282, and 304 went to Harrison.
Okay. So you want me to do
1, 2, and 304. Yeah.
It's the edge of UK campus, downtown.
So,
And in terms of feeder pattern, it feeds into Lafayette anyway, there's Ashland usually.
make these three?
2, and so 282, A and B.
I think that's tough. We may do that after we look at the numbers. So when we were looking at it as a whole.
It's all students.
Yeah. Because there's not many students, right? Yes, I heard my name, Phil.
Melissa, I have a question for you. When the board made the decision or recommendation on the 70%, there are 11 schools, elementary schools, that are 70%.
We didn't make any decisions about 70%.
Wait a minute, I guess I misunderstood where they're coming from. 75.
Was it 75%? The staffing change.
We made at the last meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The reason why I'm asking the question is that if that is indeed the case, then a lot of the work that we've done already, we're going to have to go back and redo, right? Because, and this is not a problem, I'm just saying if the resources and allocations are being made now for schools that are either 70 or 75% free or reduced lunch, because we're providing additional resources, and that you can't have as many kids in the school, because you don't want to be at 97% capacity, then we're going to have to go back and change them, unless the school board is going to do it itself in order to achieve your goal.
If I might add something, and
Yeah, Leanne.
please correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Johnson. Just because they're going to go to a ratio of 22 to 1 or receive additional staffing doesn't always mean that there's going to be an extra classroom teacher. The school council will come together and determine how best to utilize the positions given. So it could be smaller classes, it could be providing some additional staff to do reading intervention or math intervention. So I hear what you're saying, Mr. Farmer, but it doesn't just mean, I don't think, it means that if they go down to 22 to 1 ratio, that we have to go back and think about all the good work that we've already done. The council's going to decide how to utilize those positions.
Each individual site-based council.
Correct. Yes.
Dr. Helm, can I impose upon you for just a moment to weigh in on this, as you understand it?
She's absolutely
Okay.
correct. She's absolutely correct.
Okay.
It's been about 10 minutes.
So if the councils decide not to use them for smaller class sizes, they don't need more classrooms in the building.
I don't think in that type of setting that they're going to not use for smaller class sizes. But in addition to that, there could be some additional resources freed up to provide additional help in a classroom or pulling children in a group to get specific targeted intervention for reading and math areas.
Yeah, I guess where I was going is, I think Alan started to make the point, is do we need to adjust the capacity of the buildings in these high-powered schools to account for that they would need more capacity to have the smaller class sizes, because they would need more classrooms, and
Or
that
should
may
we
or may
continue
not.
on the path where we are and let the councils deal with that within the context
That's
of
what
their
I
own
was
schools?
recommending.
Yeah.
Works for me.
Which would, listen, because Bill, if you were right, we'd be set back 2 months. So,
That's why I asked if there were some presumptions that were being made. So, again, what I wanted I'll talk for just a second. So the presumption would be that the kids could go to the library. Because what you're saying is in order to achieve this goal, you may not need additional classrooms, but there's space within the facility. So one way of being able to do it is you carve out space in the library, and you have the teacher take kids out of one classroom and go into the library in order to find space to do this work.
Correct.
Okay.
good. That was a worthwhile conversation. I think we ought to keep that on that one. Let's revisit real quickly. I know we're over the limit, but we did get into some other stuff. Let's take a look, Scott. Or have you already done? No, you haven't yet. James, was it 304 and 281?
281, 282, and 304.
And Jeremiah Drix up the road.
So that
Money
whole square.
area.
And we're moving them from
Ashland
Ashland, bring up capacity at Ashland
to Harrison.
To Harrison.
to Harrison.
There's only 7 students in those 4 study areas, so it really doesn't do much at this point.
Well, can we take a
I think part of
look
them
at
just
it?
continue, pretty math.
There just aren't many kids there. I mean, there are a lot of kids, but there are like 18. Those are the kids we're trying to teach not to burn cows.
Good luck with that.
You know? I owned a couch store back out there. I'd be running an ad.
I think you should put a good whip out there. Bill and buy the used. Let's go sell your used couch.
We brought Ashland down from 96% to 94, and Harrison up to 91%.
Is that with the other
Is that with
move?
the other move?
No.
No.
That's not the other move.
Well, Sam, let's try the other move as well. On top of that, 85, 80, and 171.
There you go.
All right, thank you. So Ashland, we're back up to 121. And Harrison at 92.
Brown's
And
77.
William Wells Brown is
77.
77.
How many students are in 171?
Can I just give you a help?
Doug?
What about if you put
38.
What?
171 into Arlington?
Arlington.
First thing you get
That would be good.
Why do you suggest that?
Ours is in that general percentage. Yeah.
really close.
But tell me again, hang on. I'm getting a little confused. What are we trying to accomplish?
180, 185 is the neighborhood.
What's our goal?
Initially, the goal was to improve some of the numbers, to take the capacity down in William Wells Brown, which may or may not lower the SES numbers and the capacity.
Okay. So then, if that's the goal, then making this suggestion, as Doug just brought up to Arlington, would perhaps, let's say, it might fit into that goal.
What does it do to Arlington?
Yeah, but I'm still concerned what, and Ashland has gone from not being a problem to a problem.
Well, only if those go there.
Right, but if you take
What about
170, how many kids were in 171? Did anybody remember that?
I don't think he said. 38.
38.
So in essence, put 180 and 185 back in William Wells Brown and let 171 go to Arlington.
Mm-hmm.
That might be.
Are we splitting any neighborhoods there, like on your map? Nope. Okay, let's try that. Need to get Ashland back down.
171.
That'll put it back.
171 is a whole new project that's started. It work. What is the free and reduce? I mean, what?
Well,
what were we
Let's
talking about?
let's make sure we get these numbers first and then I look at it. Okay.
Okay, that
So
brings.
that goes,
Go ahead.
well, Arlington's 96, Ashland now is down to 94, William Wells Brown is at 88. Yeah. So, that, let's take, if you want to take a look at the free and reduced lunch numbers with this.
Yeah, we can. I guess my other concern is that, I think Arlington just, Arlington has some challenges too, and I don't want to make Arlington's situation any worse as well. But I'd like to see what the numbers look like.
Well, that they're still below 100% capacity there, and that does help bring Ashland back into a good range.
Mm-hmm.
And it does give. We still have some reduced capacity at William Wells Brown, which is a good thing.
And Harrison is still low.
What is that 171 move do to the feeder pattern? As far as middle school?
That's a good question.
That area currently feeds into LKMS and Lafayette.
All of it.
So that it doesn't go well with Arlington.
Where does Arlington go?
In the proposal, it goes to Bryan Station Middle, which does have room, and to Bryan Station High,
So
which has room.
what we're suggesting then is that you put 171 back into.
Could put it in. You could put it into the middle, Bryan Station Middle and Bryan Station High.
Well, you could it could remain in that feeder pattern, and you could still put it back into William Wells Brown, right?
Put
171.
put it back in William Wells Brown. Yeah, then that's where we start.
Right. Help me out, folks.
I'd like to see the free and reduced numbers.
Yeah, me too. But you want to leave 171 at Arlington to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see.
Okay. Scott, free and
It's
reduced,
Arlington.
no time.
We didn't move anything to Ashland, correct? We just swapped the study area with one school that's at 93% free and reduced lunch and one school that's at 94% free and reduced lunch.
Yeah.
Well, I don't-
Improve capacity.
I don't see the number.
And then we took a school that was at 88% and made it 95, and 87% and made it 87.
Also just think of Arlington and William Brown's numbers reversed.
We just swapped the situation.
Both of them have high free lunch.
So if you split 171 in half, then you would equalize the two schools.
Then you're split neighborhoods.
Well,
Some of the street
equalizing the schools is not.
Yeah.
necessarily. We're getting them into the right range.
And I guess part of the reason
What's that?
I said part of the reason we were looking to put it, to
I'm back.
previous move, make capacity. I guess the second move, 281, 282.
Our
And all
problem
that,
there
all that
is
has no
that we're
students.
making a significant jump in capacity at Ashland what they're doing.
Al, this has nothing to do with specifically with the numbers we're talking about. Just to give a little preview of what's happening in 171, there's a whole new initiative for development there that's called Louisgard, that's being led by a group that's sort of nominally led by Griffin Manby. And the Planning Commission has approved a new zoning scheme for that area that enables that to be a live-work environment, primarily for artists of all levels, metalwork, painting,
York Street.
yes, York Eddy, all of that area. Over time, we expect that what that will become. Now, that may not be significant for the immediate future, but that area is slated for a different kind of housing environment, or a different kind of household in the coming years.
I'm tangentially involved in that project, and I expect that if we maintain that we're only looking through 2020, it's probably not going to be very impactful at all.
Probably not. It'll be a slow change there.
How many accelerated cluster programs do we have at the elementary level? We have Ashland, we have Meadowthorpe. Is Tate's Creek also one, or is that just? So this is something we might want to think about putting. You're talking about putting Ashland up to 120%, but that's got one of those programs there. And if some of those kids, instead of going to Ashland, that are coming in from out of area anyway, go to Tate's Creek, which is only at 82%, that might be a workable.
How do we do that, though?
That's a decision. That's an administrative decision.
Well,
that
it's also
basically
a parental decision.
right. But currently, they try to, based on geography, say, well, you should probably go to Tate's Creek, or you should go to Medical, or you should go to.
There's a potential recommendation, but I don't think it's a redistricting question.
Well, my point was, what he's trying to accomplish, put Ashland at 121%. That's because we've got capacity way down at 300 there. And there's a large chunk of kids that are accelerated cluster. They could go to a different accelerated cluster program because they're all out of area anyway. That was the only point I was trying to make. So maybe 121 isn't bad if a lot of those out-of-area kids are going. In other words, with the capacity of Ashland might be 400 instead of 300. In which case, it wouldn't be that over.
That's just going to be very difficult for us to legislate.
Just trying to think our way out of it.
But I get it, and what you're saying is logical.
One thing you want to think about is that at Ashland, the accelerated cluster is focused on the arts, focused on IB. So it's not just an easy thing to say, go to Ashland, go to Tate's Creek. It's two totally different focuses.
That is right.
That's true.
Yeah, they
How did we go about increasing the capacity of LTMS? Because we had it down at one point and then we moved it up so that we could put more of the neighborhood kids in based on what?
One of the things that we did was to try to increase our capacity for more magnet kids.
By moving it up, the capacity up?
I think the thought process there was to make it a little bit more competitive, and that way you're not letting every single child in who wants in, and you're also helping the other schools. Because, for example, if you have 400 students in your magnet program and you're taking everybody, like from us, that's whole 65 kids. If you make it to where it's 200, it's a much more competitive program. It's much more, I would think.
And we have it down to 200, is that where we landed?
And then you're also, having neighborhood kids stay.
So can we use that same thought process at Ashland by allowing more redistricted kids in, so that you have more kids that are districted to the school versus magnet?
LTMS is a very broad appeal sort of thing as opposed to GT, gifted talent. It's a different thing. And the numbers to the gifted talent program are pretty specific applications and all that, as opposed to outfit lessons.
So Ashland is more like a gifted and talented?
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
an accelerated cluster program.
You know what, I'm sorry. You don't want the kids that qualify to not get that push if they need it either. I mean, you got to look at it that way too. If they qualify to get into that program, that's where they need to be. You want them to be pushed for their growth also.
Every student who qualifies, you have to provide us.
You don't have to be an accelerated cluster program, though, but they do have to, by law, have to be provided with gifted services.
I guess just to try to move things back, get them moving again. And if the committee wants to, can we look at putting 171 back into William Wells Brown?
Let me make a different suggestion, see what you think about this. What about splitting 171?
Along 7th Street?
Along 7th Street there. And that would, as Bob mentioned earlier, sort of balance both of those schools at least to a point where they're close to equal.
Would that help both of the schools?
Get them both down to about 91%.
It'll help both on capacities, and I don't think it's going to change the free and reduce very much, though.
Fairly equal among the students.
Scott, you can't. Can you do that? Right
I can
now?
do it. I can't do it on the fly, but I can tell you how many students are in each area right now.
Okay. In each of the two, if you had a 171A and B.
Yes. Yeah. So we'll look at the northeastern portion, the one that would go to Arlington. There are 15 students in that area. And if I remember, there's 38 total in this study area, so that would make 23 in the other area.
That worthwhile to do, guys. I think it does make both numbers a little bit better, not dramatically so.
Where do they go? Where does that area go to school now? William Wells, did we not change them at all?
Goes to where
The whole thing goes to William Wells.
all of 171. Yeah.
I don't know.
For that.
Yeah, I almost not want to move them for that little impact because, with all the efforts going on at that school, I think they're starting to build relationships, and I would think so.
Okay, let me get a consensus. We've got to move. Let's get a consensus on this. And what we're talking about is, do we split 171 or do we leave it as is? I'm hearing that we should leave it as is. Everybody,
Where it is.
You just put it back to what it was
yeah,
originally?
back to where we were. Okay. All right.
So 171 back to William Wells?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I'm going to make another suggestion.
Okay. Bring it up.
Instead of moving all those areas one at a time, can we look at moving?
I didn't get what you wanted to move.
We haven't.
Move 185 to Ashland. How many students are on 185?
21.
And James, what are we trying to accomplish there?
To help the capacity of William Wells Brown in the SES numbers at William Wells Brown and Ashland.
Okay, Scott, can you move 185 only to Ashland?
Is that breaking up neighborhood?
Yes. What?
Kind of neighborhood.
It looks like it's breaking up neighborhood.
It's It's not, he's looking at the big gap.
It does create a non-contiguous situation for us, basically.
Yeah, but with that situation and these study areas, I believe with these 6 study areas, there's a total of 2 students. So we could make all these Ashland without changing much of the numbers.
Let's do that then. And let's be mindful, let's see what the Ashland capacity number goes to.
He said not changing any of the numbers, let's help out capacity numbers. Yes.
So that would bring it up to 102 with all these. There's only...
Yeah.
What does it do to free and reduced lunch?
Scott, can we see the free and reduced lunch numbers there, please?
We sure can.
You just put LTMS in Ashland. On the bike spots.
Which foot?
Stirring it up over there.
Trying to do the right thing for everywhere, right?
Ashland's at 54% free reduced, which is where it started during the this morning or this afternoon. And Williams Wells Brown's at 96. It started at 94.
All right.
And Harrison is at 89.
We're going to revert back, take those back, and we're going to live with where we are.
Unless anybody else has a suggestion.
So we didn't do anything, right? I mean, we love.
Satisfied my curiosity. I mean, we didn't make any changes, but I mean, I feel
Well,
more.
we got this one.
Yeah.
We got to start playing that
3 minutes closer to filler time.
That's okay. That's fair enough. All right, folks, let's keep moving.
Before we move on, we did start with 216 was in Harris. Again, in 216, there's 2 students. Are we okay with moving that to Ashland just to clean up this boundary, make Limestone the boundary between the 2?
I mean, is anybody going to pop up at the next meeting with a complaint?
Of course.
I mean, not.
We've already discussed it.
I get your point.
If they do, we've already discussed it.
Yeah, I mean, but I clear up the hornets if we don't have
That's students. Okay, yeah, you can do that.
Now don't have to cross lines.
Okay.
Now, folks, let's move to Athens Charlesburg Elementary. ACE. And we've got a number of comments there with which to deal.
I think we've done some of this.
I think we've done a lot of it. Let's go through it systematically, make sure that everyone has their day. What I process is honestly doing it.
And Alan, are we looking at principal questions also? Because I know that they're not on this one list. Huh? I know, but there's some for the principals notes. No, we've got them somewhere.
Oh, I heard that. Well, we need to incorporate in our conversations what the principal comments were. Okay? We should do that. How do we make sure we're accessing them correctly?
Hannah said she was going to.
I'm sorry, you said that the principal comments in this packet were the principals that we're supposed to go by. Or the principals who are supposed to
Run the school.
No, P-A-L-S.
Yeah, the teacher boss.
Okay, all right. Good.
Hannah's getting those right
Bainbridge. I'd like to have Bainbridge to back into A.
Is that right, Melissa?
But hang
Bainbridge.
on, let me ask this question. Again, we don't want to relitigate anything that we've already discussed and decided. And the move from Bainbridge to Edith J. Hayes, we've already made decisions on that. So now, is there a corollary to ACE? What's that?
The AP child care principal has requested that. Peggy Henderson.
Okay. All right. We'll do it.
I just remember the principal meeting, she was talking about some of those groups that get lost and changes.
Yeah, she wanted more diversity. I got that.
And also, if you remember, she stated at the meeting that they had been part of the original APEN elementary. And so the relationship is, it's not just in that school is open.
Let's take a look at it. Study area numbers, folks, so we can got on board with it. Was that the only comment? From,
No, we had Ellerslie as along.
no, I know, but I'm talking about from principals. Yeah. Thanks, Steve.
Alan, may I ask a clarifying question?
Yes, sir.
How many trailers are at 8? Because when we look at, when I learned out of the Rose Park conversation, that when we look at the capacity number, we're looking at just facility, the physical facility. But then we find out there are trailers. And so the capacity that we see on the report is not the actual capacity. So my assumption is that there must be at least 4 or 5 trailers.
There are.
Talking about the portables?
3 portables, learning cottages.
Well, but those costs, one of our
learning cottages.
one of our principles, though, is the cost. Well, those cost extra money to keep those there, so. And then the comment was made, I saw from the minutes last week, that from a former principal, that doesn't take into account also the cafeteria size, restrooms, et cetera, all those other things that are involved.
So we were told we could leave ACE a little bit larger
The new school.
because the school, and then if you look at the projections,
Same argument we had in our discussions about ACE.
well, and if you look at the projections for the new elementary school, it's a 75. It starts out at 99%, but by the time you get to 2019, it's 139%. So if we're looking 5 years out, if it helps socioeconomic, it helps the feeder pattern, you know, we can leave a little bit more in that school. The portables, I know they cost, but that's the one area we have said that we can leave more kids in.
I just wanted to confirm because we made some decisions regarding Rosa Park last week based on portables, and I don't recall a discussion about restrooms.
Yeah, but we didn't change it. We didn't change Rosa Parks either. We left it at 123% over capacity.
Right, that's why I'm looking at the 118% of capacity now. Make sure that when we're talking about it, are we discussing changing the capacity for it, or are we talking about shifting kids?
With regard to ACE, ACE has 3 double-sized portables, which means 6 classrooms, which means 150 kids, which is not included in the current capacity.
Stated that he or she could manage and has managed the 750 kids. So I just wanted to make sure that as we're looking at this, that are we talking about moving kids being clogged with capacity, reducing capacity, or are we talking about socioeconomic status?
And these are kids that are currently in ACE, so we moved them out at this point in time, so it's not putting anybody, it's just keeping someone who's already there. And if you look at the projections, it's at 118% now for ACE, but in 2019 it's 111, so that is actually going down. The new school's going up, it's going down, and these kids are already in ACE.
Okay, and that's without the impact of the new school, which could fall within this 2020 window.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Should.
Right.
Should. fall
And that move does help socioeconomic diversity. Right now, it's 18%.
So did anybody give
15%?
Scott study areas to
259.
257, just take ACE's area out to Man of War Boulevard. all the gray area by Manawar.
So that would bring it, if we do, and you're talking all these study areas here, from 117% up to 133.
Oh.
This is not at all dissimilar from the conversation that we just had about Edith J. Hayes.
Edith J. Hayes?
Yeah, when we were finalizing those, what we found was that we were already over capacity, and we were rationalizing our ability to be over capacity, and adding more study areas is only going to exacerbate the problem to beyond what I think we could honestly rationalize.
I mean, honestly, what is this distance? Those kids were already in there, and we moved them out to put a new neighborhood in. So, I mean, if there's other people that can be moved back out of Ace to make that work. And we're moving less kids, we're impacting socioeconomic diversity. The travel distance is about the same for both areas. So I'm not against putting them in and making it over capacity, but I mean, we just have to move somebody else out that wasn't already in there.
Study area 263 in Ace. We're going to put that in Berkeley.
I don't know.
263 is currently in Breckenridge. Your proposal puts it in 8.
So can we put it back in Breckenridge and see what it does?
Where is that?
It was by Long Ridge Road.
Park Point, by the way. Park Point. 264A is the golf course. Next to the lake.
What about 273 and 291?
In 263, there's 4 students. 273, there's 37 students. And what was the other?
291. Where's 291?
297?
291 is
Where's parking?
part of Cassidy. 291 is where Walmart is.
Oh, it's up here.
Yeah, the light green.
273 over, and all that kind of goes together. It's a neighborhood, but it's not a neighborhood. What about the 291? They were already in there.
Not what you think.
291 not in there.
These kids are already in there. These people.
All right, it's in Cassidy.
There's going to be another new school building.
273 is Walmart Ridge.
Anybody want
There's 41 students in 291.
a suggestion here? We'll take a look at it. We're going to go beyond, obviously.
I am just not sure that I feel comfortable having kids passing each other on buses again.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm not comfortable with it.
I think Breckenridge is too far for 273 and 275 to go. I mean, that is a long way away. Yeah, Breckenridge neighborhood.
We got a neighborhood.
And we are looking at this because we've had the principal request to take some kids out of ACE and replace them with some kids from Bright. Is that what I'm understanding? You distill it down.
Wait, we're not talking about right now. We're not going through this list.
Yeah, we need to look at the rest of the list before we make
I would recommend that because we've been going through the list, and we're not talking about anything that's on the list. We're talking
about the principal's list, about this.
Right, but that's
I think it is germane.
Yeah, I think we need to look at all the areas.
Well, we do have a number of comments that include Creekside, Childsburg, Brightonwood, Ellerslie, Stewart Hall.
What about some of the,
But did I characterize the principal's comment correctly?
Did the principal want, like, that area moved in and others moved out, or did they just want that area moved in?
Well, here's my understanding of, I was in that meeting. I think the comment was just move the Bainbridge area in, takes us capacity numbers, etc.
I thought that was Dave at Hayes.
No, it was two
No,
principals, both of
it's
them.
the same thing.
Yeah, that's the same thing, but did we hear it from both of them?
Yes.
And Alan, I was there too, that's right. They didn't say give up anything, but they wanted to pick up closer to Woodhill if they could.
That's right. And what I'm reading here is the only way that we can even consider that is if we find someone to move out of ACE to make that work.
252, 253, 265 is the recommendation.
This rural area, 297, 98, 300, 299, 79, has 34 students in it, and that could probably go to Squires. These transportation anyway, either way, and that would leave a spot for 37 students. And here in this is the area we're looking at. There are 101 students, so that's still the 70 student difference.
It's also going to be hard for them to get, as far as they're going to have to like go to Long Road or either that or go out Vanderbilt, and that's going to take forever.
All right.
So the only other thing is proposed new school, take some people out of ACE and put them in the new school.
Which will happen, but I mean, if we're starting at 133%, I think we overstepped our privilege.
What if we move those areas he's just talking about to the new school, like Ron's saying?
What area is that?
The 297, 298.
We're heard that, with that expired, the actual school. Right.
Well,
Yeah,
moving
that's the 2020 new school.
The only thing that I don't know which way, where are you talking about moving them to? Is that out College Road or is that out Richmond Road?
It's out Richmond Road.
The only thing I'm wondering is if we, 2 years after we open B school, like the one that's proposed out there with the middle school, I don't want to move people towards the new school and then 2 years later to have to move back the other way when the other school is open.
I mean, somebody's going to move to the new school.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
We're not going to get to address it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beyond our purview, unfortunately. We're only guessing at where the schools are going to be and when they're going to be online. And our charge was not to do that, but to look at what we've got.
Alan, would there be any sense to move Andover Hill to the new school? Which is 252, 253, and 260.
And to do what with them?
Move them out of ACE into the new school.
That's a big area.
Yeah,
That's huge.
You're trying to find a whole lot of students back in ACE.
And yeah, be careful
Well, there
with
is an
people.
alternative, folks, and that is just leave it the way we've got it.
I think we need what you got.
You know, without, are we artificially trying to do something here because the principal asked?
And I think it's noble of them.
I do too, but it doesn't necessarily fit with what the work we've done.
Leslie?
So does anybody have a recommendation besides me on that?
I think that'd be fun. I agree.
I agree.
Okay, I'm seeing a lot of head nods.
I think you just have to look at it. We did.
Okay. Anybody object? If
I just
not,
think that's the one area where we've done the most harm in all areas, capacity, socioeconomic balance, all of them. I mean, there's other complaints from, Brighton, who's saying they're less than a half a mile away from ACE. They've been in ACE. We moved them out of ACE, put another area in that's not in ACE. I mean, We've done a lot of harm in that area.
It's a hard area.
I don't think it's that hard. It's just
I'm open, folks. I'm seeing a lot of head nodding on leaving it alone. I'm hearing a story.
If we look at the other
Look at them all.
And free and reduced is at 15.
yeah, free reduces at 15%. They won't even have a family resource worker at that school because you have to have 20% to even have it. So the people who do go there that need help won't receive it.
I understand that, but again, that was one of the guiding principles that the school board specifically did not give us.
What?
Perhaps they should have, minimum standards.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying, but it wasn't like that prior to what we started.
They should have, but
Well, I'm just stating the obvious. It was not that low prior to us redistricting them that low. So it is the one area where we have done.
it was not.
Oh, it wasn't that far apart.
Well,
Theirs was like 23% or so.
We reduced theirs to 22-ish.
To 15.
But you got to keep in mind that that school is next to where the new school is. Any of those adjacent tenants areas are really going to change because we're adding a new school into the mix. It's going to be very hard to keep status quo on those.
Consensus here, folks.
Do we need to look at Brighton Woods?
Do we need to look at Brighton?
Springtime we've already put back in.
All right, we're going to leave it the way it is right now, Scott. Let's move to the Brighton Woods concern. You know, we may, as we go through each one of these, figure out a way to solve it.
What attendance area is Brighton Woods in?
A. It's A.
Oh, still, we're staying in the same area? Okay.
And what comment are we addressing? What's our goal here?
They have been in ACE and are 4/10 of a mile away and were moved out
To the new school.
To the
to the
new
new school and would like to be able to go where they're 4/10 of a mile away.
Is that 245?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the patient across Todd's Road.
How many tenths of a mile is it to the
You know what, let me do a shortcut
It is
here.
They didn't say that word.
Let me do a shortcut here. Are we in agreement that where we are in terms of capacity at ACE is the top end of where we want to be?
Yeah.
I just thought I'd get that out there so that whatever we do, we don't have to go back and forth over that. So what that number is now is 118, with the projections taking it to 111, basically.
Yeah. I know we moved this area from Crawford back to Hayes. To me, that move made sense. You've got the older kids. It is a lot further. I think looking at these, it's about 2 miles to the new school, and you've got a major road as a barrier there. There are other areas of town, like out Hayes Creek Road, where you've got kids that are less than half a mile from Veterans Park, but there's a major road there, and so they go to Mill Creek. And to me, it makes sense to leave Todd's Road as a boundary, especially when you're looking at the capacity of where ACE is now.
Some of them, they seem like less than a half a mile, though, and
expressway there, Mike?
2 miles.
Man of War,
I mean, it's like half a
you have to put a
mile.
Man of War deer head.
Two miles.
But you can't,
Todd's
you
Road.
can't walk it if you have cross Todd's Road.
Well, a lot of other people aren't walking either. I mean, you are right there. It's not a big deal to go that way because I go that way all the way. I did. My kids are in
And then who are we going to take out?
Todd's Road's a natural, would be a natural boundary.
Those three, I mean, you can't put anybody else in, so.
But I wouldn't push anybody else this way because, like I said, the building is the other.
Well, we've got to take somebody. We've all just now agreed that our capacity is as high as we're going to let it get. So there is no movement here under any circumstances without taking somebody out. Right?
Well,
Am I logically correct?
We haven't discussed it yet, but I still, the Ellerslie situation that's locked, and we've got them going, that's 9 kids, and I'd be willing to squeeze 9 more kids if that made sense to you.
Especially because 2 of them don't even go there.
Well, just because of the transportation issue, how worth it that
Right,
may
oh, I'm just saying, the number is even smaller than the 9.
Good motion.
Well,
I don't want to get out of order here. I'm just saying that before I agree that we absolutely don't put one more kid in there,
that's fair.
Okay, so but in that way, we're saying that we'll cross the boundary of Richmond Road, but we won't cross the boundary for someone to go a mile or so, but we will cross Todd Road so people they can see the school from the neighborhood.
Okay.
I mean, is that what we're saying?
Yes, but no. Let me put it a different way. Ellerslie,
still has to get on Richmond Road.
they would have to get on Richmond Road, take a left onto Manowar, go down Manowar, take a left onto Armstrong Mill, go up Armstrong Mill, and get to Squires. Brighton Woods.
No, Ellerslie is right on Richmond Road. You make a left, and then you make a left onto Squires. The Squires is right there.
No, it's not.
No, it's all Squires Road. Squires Road is there. Squires Elementary.
You don't have to get on the main road.
Okay, so you don't have to go main road. You have to go, it's much further than 2 miles.
So our point is by your best.
It is a different travel.
I
The point
would
is
see
that
the school. I mean, it's
Ellerslie
right there.
Ellerslie is a better situation.
To me, that feels like a much more significant travel time to go from Ellerslie to Squires than it would be to go from Brighton to the new elementary, is I guess what I'm saying.
Why don't we ask the transportation?
That is true, Mary. As far as like bus pattern.
Can we put 2 nights? Can we put 2 more people in there?
Not Ellerslie. Whatever the pleasure of the committee is.
And that's the other thing too, is you're looking at 7 kids, not 70 kids.
Okay, put them in there.
No reason not to do that. So, I mean, independent of other areas, just looking at 7 kids at Ellerslie, is there any reason not to do it?
No, I think we should put them in there and then look at the projections, because isn't that a growing neighborhood, or is it completely finished?
Well, it's not.
With there, Scott, let's put Ellerslie, got a study number, and let's move on. Okay?
I would suggest that one reason why there's only 7 students at elementary school age there is the fact that it's zoned as Tate's Creek. You zone it to 8th and Charlesburg, and it'd be a lot more attractive to elementary school age.
Good, let's show more houses.
I got you, principal.
All right, let's move on, folks. Do we now go to the Charlesburg comments? Anybody want to step up?
Charlesburg.
They say we did a good job.
They like
Sorry?
They say we did a good job. I'll speak up.
And we're going to accept that. All right? Creekside. And,
No, they say we didn't do a good job.
yeah, I know.
Not that we put them in.
They're on the other side.
I think that we're going to, if we have one argument about that for Brighton, Creekside's on the same side as Todd's Road. I don't feel like you, I mean, it's the same situation.
We've just decided that in order for us to add a significant number of kids, study area, to ACE, we have to extract a corresponding or number. So my directive here is, if you'll accept it, is that if any of these comments as regards ACE, you have suggestions, bring with that suggestion the corresponding move of who you would suggest should be extracted.
so I'd say.
All right. Did everybody hear that? Mike has suggested we leave Creekside.
In all of these areas that want to go back to ACE or to ACE,
Everybody wants to go back to ACE.
to me, if we're going to do that, it would be Bainbridge. We've already decided not to do that.
Exactly.
Why would we?
I'm in total agreement with what you just said. If we're going to make a move to unbalance all of this work, Bainbridge is the place we should do it.
Mm-hmm.
We just decided we're not going to do that.
Exactly. All right, does anybody object to leaving Creekside where it is? Committee, help me out. Okay. Price Town area is next on my list.
Same thing, leave it where it is.
Where it is.
Yeah, everything is.
Price Town, go.
So, do I have a suggestion from anybody? Doug? All right, Doug's suggestion is we leave it as is.
I don't know if that was a formal motion or not, but I second it.
It's not a motion.
Okay.
Okay? Seems like a consensus, except the story looked like you were taking a breath. You good? Or?
I'm fine.
Okay. All right, Stewart Hall. What is the comment there?
I mean,
We've moved them into ACE, right?
and they're still talking about why they should stay.
Yeah, theirs are more pro. They're trying to play
Make sure we don't
just
change
we
it.
don't.
Well, does anybody have a suggestion for a corresponding move that would change Stewart Hall from what we've already done? I don't see, and so we're moving on. Wait, somebody said something? Oh, okay.
No.
All right, for sure. All right, are there any other comments regarding ACE that we should take a look at?
There's one comment that says they're concerned about the capacity issue. But we all are, so.
I'm much more comfortable with the capacity issue at ACE than I am at Russell Park.
Oh, me too. I think we should have made those moves last week.
But we've decided though, so we're going to move on. All right, folks, let's move to our next one.
So did we move Ellerslie?
We did move Ellerslie.
Ellerslie is 296. We moved it.
Yes. All right, we're going to Lansdowne Elementary now. Scott, study areas. We've got 1, 2, 3 considerations here.
And they're at 110% capacity, correct?
I don't know.
So
Yes.
Yes.
it would make sense we would apply the same reason to Lansdowne that we did to
I
ACE.
would suggest
We're gonna
that
put somebody in
110
and take
at
somebody out.
Lansdowne is probably even beyond what I'm comfortable with, but ought to be a max number.
For what? Lansdowne?
We're currently at 110. So I'm going to ask you again, if anyone has a suggestion on how to address these concerns, come with a corresponding move of extraction.
Where did we move Brindle Creek? The southern?
What are the comments?
Brindle Creek.
Brindle Creek, what's the comment?
To move it back to Lansdowne?
So we moved Brindle Creek Apartments to where?
Probably southern.
Oh, southern.
Yeah. So we're looking at Lansdowne at 110 and Southern at 104. How many students are in that area, Scott?
Which study area is it?
I don't know where it is. I don't know.
Bridal.
Two ways.
No, two ways.
Two different versions of it.
Okay.
It might be bridal tree.
Is it next to Pickaway?
County and Reynolds Road. Probably runs down.
This is down Reynolds Road. That's it, that any of you? That wouldn't be good.
If it is still in land.
Yeah.
Well, that could conceivably be an old comment.
Yeah, maybe it has.
I'll Google it.
There's no, because Wilson Downing our
Well, actually,
and Reynolds.
we did dive, it looks like we dived, oh no, these outlines are the current boundaries, right? The blue, okay.
Bridal Creek Apartments is at 3800 Nicholasville Road.
520.
Yeah.
So the area 520.
Study area 520.
All right, right.
It's walking distance of Southern.
Where'd you look that up? How'd you find that? I've heard of that. Have you? I'll show it to you.
Should invest it.
So there's, in study area 520, there's 14 students.
And one of them wants to go to Lansing.
And this area is currently, these two study areas are currently at Lansdowne. Actually, it goes all the way down here.
Didn't we already do this?
I think this is a non-issue.
Yeah.
I think the comments I heard were they wanted to, or that area, was it previously at Southern?
It was previously at Lansdowne.
Right.
Now they're at Southern.
And now they're at Southern. But they're within a mile of Southern. There's a back way to walk out. Would be within a mile.
Maybe somebody can help me out, because I guess the comments I've been hearing from some parents at Lansdowne is they were saying a study area in South Point.
Yeah, we haven't got that.
That's the
We
next
haven't got that
Yeah,
yet.
we, 596.
Yeah, we're not quite there.
Thanks for helping me out.
This the Bridal Creek appears to be a one-off comment, but I don't.
Yeah, I think it is too. Let's move beyond it.
And just for clarification, David, is it Bridal or Brindle?
Bridal.
Okay. Now we go to Pickaway Corner.
Hey, while we're in this area, it looks like we're breaking up Stony Brook. I don't know if this is part of the Stony Brook or not. This is the way it currently is right now. The blue line is the current study area, or the current attendance area. Are we breaking up this neighborhood, or is this neighborhood broken up, or is this the way we want to keep it? There's only 4 students in that area.
They walk right across the street.
To Southern.
Scott.
They live on land, on an access road. That's
And they walk to Southern, right?
Makes sense to me. All right.
They actually walk to Southern. All right, Pickaway Corner.
They would if they had sidewalks.
Right, they have no.
That's right.
Not our issue.
We don't do that.
Lean on these guys. They would if they had sidewalks.
Okay.
I agree.
Don't we have bike lane?
I mean, those two.
So what areas are Pickaway?
County line.
Frontage road. Frontage road.
What is it?
Well, it sort of did. I've got a buddy that lives on there. He shoveled it.
What's the city area for this comment?
554 and part 555.
You go south, Scott.
Pickaway was in Southern years ago and got switched to Lansdowne for a while. Now you're proposing to put it back.
There's about 70 students in these two study areas.
Everybody to move the lands down.
Again, anybody has a suggestion about how to do that, you need a corresponding move for 70 students.
Wouldn't that wouldn't make a lot of sense to move? They're further away than I-20.
I think it's the only way that it would make sense if there were any people who had moved into Lansdowne who wanted back to Southern, and it doesn't appear that
I don't see
that's
any
the case.
comments. And we've got lots and lots and lots of land down. Okay, recommendation, folks?
Keep it how it is.
Leave it as is. All right, now, let's finish this out.
Specifically 5.
596.
That's the one we split, isn't it? And we just split it in the wrong place. That's what they're saying.
I think that's right.
Yeah. That's principal and
But we need to see what the impact of the correct split would be.
So what study areas are we looking at?
5.
Okay.
6A, 6C,
so how many students are in the 596A?
Where's the recommended split that we're looking at?
There's 22 in 596B.
How about in 596A?
36.
Those currently go to land now. Got them districted to Southern.
I'm serious, I don't know.
We heard a lot of comments from that.
I know, but I'm not sure I'm seeing it.
Well, some of it has to do with where we've got the line down the middle of the street, kids walk down the street, right? One school, it's like there's 2 buses down the same street.
So how many kids are in that one area?
36.
36.
A,
22,
46, 17. Yeah. That's what it was, yeah.
22.
So we should take 596A.
Well, it makes sense for us to consider not having a line down the middle. I get that.
The 96C wanted to go there.
Well, so they either move 596A with the 36 or 38 kids
Right.
to Lansdowne, which is already at 110, or move the 17 kids into Southern from Lansdowne.
I don't know
Keep
if
them together.
the Southern no fixes our problem. I think maybe just split the neighborhood again, just at a different point.
And two, I think some of the comments too, it said that it helps the Lansdowne free and reduced lunch. Those went higher, didn't they, after we interchanged it?
So I think our real choice is, do we want to move 596A into Lansdowne, or do we want to just leave it?
I'm sure about bidders.
You could split 596A to include all of Bittersweet, not be going down the middle of that road. You have to split Meadowcrest somewhere, Meadowcrest Park.
Thinking Leanne sent me a note on this. Hang on a second.
I think Alderbrook is in here too. We have comments on Alderbrook.
It is, if you look like the 596C, that's part of that neighborhood, it kind of Albert runs out of that neighborhood. It's where the association lines are.
Alderbrook runs into Waterford.
96A and C are not built or something.
You'll notice that Aurora is going to connect where the map shows 554. That area is going to develop part of Mayhem Pine, right? And it fair to expect Aurora to connect there?
Fair to say, we'll ask for that to happen, yeah.
It's supposed to. We know that.
What about
Planning portion. Right.
Was there one for support?
The only thing I can suggest is if we keep that all together where we split it at 596A and have them 38 go back to Lansdowne, then we need to look back at this area where we took them out of Lansdowne, or we took them out of Southern and put them in Lansdowne, but they were at Southern before on Wilson Downing there. Is a trade-off. I don't know what that does to free and reduced lunch, so I suspect it's probably not going to help.
No, they don't. We don't have to maybe look at what it looks like.
Yeah, I agree.
So okay, we're going to put 596A, Scott. We're going to join it with the rest of their neighbors and put them in Lansdowne.
So split.
Find the other ones.
Are we just substituting the Bitterstein issue with the Alder issue on the other side of Alderbrook?
I don't think so, because that's, if you look where the neighborhood association is, it ends right there, the line is between A and C.
Yeah, this is Waterford here.
I guess you're slated as a street, but at least it's neighborhood line.
See Waterford? I believe so, yes.
The new part of Waterford.
Right.
Yes.
So we,
7 is the one.
is that the one?
And how many students did we just move?
38.
36 and 17, I thought were the two.
No, 17 was already there.
Right.
So
what does that do to our numbers?
but we still have to move the other one. Is it 507, you said, Bob?
Yeah. 507 is, actually there's 506, 7, and Alonzo. Probably more than 38.
Yeah, that's more.
Oh, no.
503 is there, yeah.
This suggests that Wilson Downing cuts the neighborhood association, the Bellwood Neighborhood Association, both sides of here.
Does it really?
That's 506, 507 along the road.
So you think the neighborhood association's wrong?
I do.
College kids live in there.
Yeah, because
And those are those houses that don't have master bedrooms for college. So 12 kids is total in that area, Scott?
No, there's actually about 50. We would want to move this to Southern.
Back to Southern, where it was. Where'd you go?
Yeah, total between those three, there's 55 students.
19 students difference going from Lansdowne to Southern.
It gets their capacity is about
They can walk to Southern too.
They can also,
here.
what is it?
Right.
Can't they?
yeah,
It's
they
it's
can.
just right up on top of the hill.
Yeah, yeah.
They are within Southern's walking distance, 1 mile.
And Lansdowne is 107.
That actually reduces Lansdowne a bit. But what does it do to free and reduce?
Yeah, but
though?
we need to look at free and reduced.
Actually, that might help free and reduce. It'll get us closer together. 52 and 66. That's all the, and it solved their heartburn from that neighborhood.
Anybody got a suggestion on this? I
like the changes.
Boys and girls,
I like it.
you like the changes.
Yeah,
Like you
I
change
like
Makes our free and reduced numbers much better. And our capacities both improve.
And it deals with the
And,
comments
and the comments from the neighborhoods, they're gonna like that.
and the principal as well.
And that,
And the principal.
I mean, hey, we got way too many times.
Move on.
Something where everybody's happy can't work.
Change it back, change it
I
back.
think we're going to need to do
It's cocktail time then.
Hey,
You got that right. Okay, we're gonna make those moves, Scott, and let's move on.
All right.
Good deal.
And Liberty, we've already done, right? We can check that one off.
Correct. So we're now at the Center Parks question at Glendover. That's the area right off of Nicholasville Road. We've moved those kids from Glendover to
Pickadome.
Right. That may be the area where we had the highest percentage of people impacted writing letters. It's not that many kids, and we got 3 times as many.
And it's kind of a straightforward issue. It looks like that we're getting them closer to Pickadome, but in terms of going on the road, they have to go out onto Nicholasville, go around either the Waller or Southland Drive.
How many kids are there? We have room in both schools.
Yeah, they're both. And Glendover principal advocated for having her kids back.
And there shouldn't be too many kids in there.
I don't think there are very many kids.
North part anyway.
And it keeps the natural road boundary breaking up
At
as well.
Nicholasville Road.
So we're looking at these 4 study areas.
Cherokee.
319 through 356.
Right, those 4 in a row, Scott?
Yeah. Everything, Nicholasville Road and railroad tracks.
But that should help our free and reduced number at Glendover.
Maybe a little bit, but the Frogtown stuff is all student housing now, so.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
There's 94 students in that area. That does change it, brings Pickadome to 75%. So Glendover's at 90%, Pickadome is at 93 currently. With these students moving, it would bring it to 108 and 75.
I think the reason that we started looking at students to go to Pickadome is because we got rid of the non-contiguous area. There was so many kids, and we had Pickadome at 40-something.
Yeah, we were trying
Yeah,
to populate Pickadome.
But
what are the
but
neighborhoods?
Those new numbers are
Can we not
friendly.
move them all?
No, well, but if you look, Wyndham Hills is asking to go back in. I don't know what city area that is, but if we not, oh, that's the okay. I'm just saying, I don't know how many kids are in there, but if that's something that we're going to look at next, we can see if that would be a corresponding area that would, if it's in that non-contiguous.
yeah, because they even make the comment that we do not care that we are not contiguous.
They've been tuning in.
Yes, they have.
They actually did say that.
Yeah, they actually
Yeah,
wrote
I
that
don't
comment.
have
We
this.
don't care that we're not. And then opens room in Stonewall? I mean, we might be winning.
Can we take a look at, there's not going to be many students there, but could you leave out 319 and 320?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear which study areas.
328 and 319, can you leave those out? Because that's not much neighborhood there, that's student stuff.
Okay, yeah. I've got 356 and 335 just selected correct right now. And that brings Glendover from 90 to 100, and Pickadome from 93 to, I believe, 83. So it's a 10% shift there, with these 2 going to Glendover.
I'd like to recommend that we do that.
Let's look at
Well, can we
the
look
free and reduced.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
They're not going to get ahead of us.
I don't think they're going to shift them significantly. They're both.
What do you
Glendora from 50 to 46. I'm thinking of going up then, from 64 to 71.
Can we do the corollary with Wyndham Hills while we got this on the board and see?
Wyndham Hills going over.
Do you think when we're talking about a non-contiguous area like this, what you imagine that just
I was thinking about the Garden Springs non-contiguous area. I'd forgotten that we had totally taken away the ticket on non-contiguous area, so just ignore my comments, please.
All right, so you don't want to do it on
I'm up for whatever people want to look at, but in my mind, I was thinking that we had a non-contiguous area, so it makes sense to just expand it, and then even reminded me that in all of my brilliance, it was not for Picadum, it was for Garden Springs. So, any comments I had?
So we moved Picadum from 64% free and reduced to 71.
Yeah, we really changed that school.
Well, almost had to if we're going to do anything in this area, right?
Yes, so 70% is the cutoff for getting smaller class sizes. 71 is better than 64. I don't think so. I'm just.
Maybe I thought here
better. Yeah.
Scott, can you zoom in on Picadum, please?
So is the reason we're looking 335, 356, because it was a transportation, it was much easier to get to one school versus the other? That's the difference.
I don't think there's a back way.
I would say that's it.
They're talking about
I'm surprised at that. Bigger than President's Cherokee Park in Arcadia. Right. Suburban. Bunch of students in this area.
Yeah. Well, there's a bunch of UK students.
Right. That's what I mean. UK students.
But that doesn't.
Okay.
How many students are in 325?
325. 23.
How many of them in the area at the 335 label, between the label and Waller Avenue, are there any kids in there? The Elizabeth Street portion? Oh, it's not a deal.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of kids. See 1, 2, 3 dots at least.
But even at that, I'm just saying that that's going to help the very much.
It doesn't look like there's that at all. It must be all.
I don't think that's that area.
There's there's 6 students in this northern area, this neighborhood. It's the Elizabeth Street neighborhood. There's 6 students.
This is where it's going to help the folks back there.
All right, folks, how do we is Glendover, Seven Parks, conundrum.
I'd lean toward not changing it.
Leaving it how it is.
Thinking how it is right now or how it is on our map?
How it is. I'm understanding if we go back to what our map is.
That was what I was, yeah.
How do they go to get to pick it up?
Well, they would have to go out on the Nicholasville and go down to either Southland Drive or up to Waller Avenue.
Or Rose.
Or Rosemont Garden.
Rosemont Garden. That goes right over.
I see both sides of it. If you're applying, I mean,
Moving the kids over to the Clays Mill corridor, and that's a mess in the morning. You're gonna make them go all the way across Nicholasville Road, getting that Clays Mill mess, instead of just letting them turn around and go back up the road to Glendale. Oh, hell no.
That's a good point.
what I guess my thought, to apply a certain reason, and I realize it's a small number of students, but to Ellerslie because of not having that back access to get out to a school, but now we're not going to do that here.
Our only concern, all of that,
This
all
is not
of
hard.
this makes sense.
This is not hard transportation. Rosemont Garden goes right through there. There's a light there. It goes.
And they have to get up Nicholasville.
Yeah, they can't get to Rosemont Garden from there.
What's this parkway goes up to? Is it Lafayette Parkway? Goes right in the back.
And the only other way would be to go back the other way to Cooper and get into that mess.
Then you're sending them right through the Lafayette traffic.
2 minutes.
There's different times.
There's no
We got out of this, right.
All of that makes sense, but it does end up at 71% free and reduced in a school that is currently 35.
Well, what about
We're definitely changing the character of
if
that
we're
school.
looking at transportation? Why don't we put these folks
It's creating a good problem that we didn't have.
let these
We're 11 and a half minutes on this.
First time he said that.
That's part of that was 11.
It's getting close to 6:30. You let it go to 11.
All right, we do have a suggestion that we leave the map as was, and I heard another suggestion that for the traffic patterns that we need to move those kids to Glendale. So this is where we need to take a vote.
Well, looking at the traffic patterns, I'm not trying to belabor this, but there is that 356 section that dumps right onto Rosemont Garden.
Scott, could you zoom in a little bit more on 356 and 325?
It would not be pretty in terms of nice straight lines, but if we put, in other words, from where we started, we only moved, was it 335?
Yes.
325, we only moved them to Glendale, not these folks at Picadone, 356 at Picadone. These still would need to get on Nicholasville to get there.
That's right.
And by the time they do that, they can do that.
I do agree. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask you to vote. The first you're voting for, with a show of hands, to leave the map as we originally designed it. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Wait, Kathy, you've got a question.
No, what did you say? I'm sorry.
You're not paying attention to me?
Our options here are to leave it without any of these
What
changes.
you're voting on is to leave the map as we started.
Without moving those two neighborhoods.
Without moving the kids. Okay. All those in favor of that, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we leave it as is. Thank you all. Okay. Do we have time to, we're on, now let's go Can we stay there? Yeah, okay, we can get this done. All right, the comments on both Pine Meadows and Wyndham Hills are on pages 38 and 39. And currently, on free and reduced, the schools we're talking about are Picadome, which we just left at, where did we get that back to? 64.
Pine Meadows is happy.
Good. Then there's not a question about Pine Meadows. So we're back to Wyndham Hills. And what they're asking for is to get back into Glendover, right?
No.
I mean, I knew that. I actually knew that. I don't think they were. Okay.
I don't know where listed comments.
All right, let's grab a study area and see how honoring this request would impact.
So we're down from the county line, right?
Yes.
So what is it?
Actually, I misspoke about Pine Meadows as well. They're apparently moved Pine Meadows out of Picadome. This person wants to be back in. Yeah.
One comment?
Yeah.
That's where that whole non-particular
Right.
area.
I'm not sure which area we're looking at. Was it the old non-contiguous area?
I think it's 544, Scott, and 543. Isn't that Wyndham Hill?
They want to be in.
Is it outside of Man Wharf? It's
Yeah.
down to the county line, isn't it?
Yeah, the county line area.
589. There's two Wyndhams out there. I think they're talking about the one that's
There's
580.
drive right there.
Wyndham Hills or Wyndham Towns?
Wyndham Hills.
Hills is what they're
Hills.
The ones that are going to Picadome today.
Right.
Maybe we could turn that later on.
To the east of that area, Scott.
Yeah, 545 and 582. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's it. We've got the gold soda.
If they'd like, you could give them time to think. Let's get the car time.
So on our current map, they're going to Stonewall.
Yeah, that's what we have them go to Stonewall right now.
The principal's been concerned that Stonewall is over capacity.
And the Picadome principal wants any students we can provide support.
So what does that, we moved them yet, Scott?
No, I didn't know. You want all of these moved?
589, 582.
You just want to see what numbers look like.
Well, I'm thinking what was projected. We can do something that helps reintroduce lunch for these kids.
Well, this would definitely.
Then we could maybe look at the Glendover thing again. Put those two areas.
No.
Transportation.
What that does, that flips it. Picadome's at 90% and Stonewall's at 111, and it brings Stonewall to 97, and Stonewall, excuse me, and Picadome to 108.
Okay, 100.
So this we're sending kids a lot further to a school that's going to be over capacity.
Not if we go back and take those two areas that that want to go back to Glendover, take them out of Picadome and put them in Glendover.
I don't think it's a good idea. Like we talked about weeks ago, to send kids past 3 or 4 elementary schools to another school.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
I don't think it helps longevity, sustainability.
Okay, I'm hearing that we not make this move. Nodding some heads. Ron and Nathan.
I'm compelled by not.
Okay.
I can see it both ways, but if we're trying to tighten things up for the future, it makes sense to kind of get rid of some of these discontiguous areas.
Yeah, there's no marriage.
Okay. All right, Scott, we revert back to the original, and we're good.
There we go.
And do we want to address Pine Meadows here or not?
That's the same situation. I don't know where Pine Meadows is.
Cardinal Hill. Yes,
I think we don't. It's just
You have to get
one comment.
direction to the public study area.
325.
325, Scott.
Is that where we've got them now?
Yeah.
I don't.
All right, folks, we are going to pick up our conversation through Sandersville Elementary. Let me suggest that everybody brings with you so that we don't have to try to replicate any of this. The February 20th principals rezoning input meeting notes and our table of contents that Hannah provided today so that we can go straight into our conversation. We are approximately halfway home on the elementary school. Stephen, thank you for at least attempting to keep us in some sort of a positive momentum.
Made a couple of good changes.
Yeah, we did, and we looked at an awful lot and decided that our original thinking was correct. And that's what this process